As we take a deep exhale here in the Premier League studios, hard to know if there was a winner tonight. Well, there wasn't a winner, let's be honest. It was a draw. Which side do you think is walking away the happier, Tim?
Well, the body language tells us who the winner was.
Yeah.
It was dismay and bewilderment on the face of every Man United player and their manager. Bournemouth are happy. They're going over to the away supporters. They're smiling, they're cheering, they're joking around. I mean, this has got to stop for me. Mm-hmm. It's got to stop. I now, having seen that game, can totally say that I've switched my thought process and say Amorim has to change something tactically. Not everything, but he has to find a six, and maybe that's Kobe Mainoo. He has to find a six that just sits and says, no matter what type of game this is, I don't care going that way. I just need to control tempo because there are too many players out of position. If you're going to have both wing backs forward, and if you're going to have Bruno Fernandes who gets into the attack, gets attracted to the ball, that's fine. And then every now and again, Casemiro runs out of play. You can't have that. Something has to change with him tactically. It's not an overhaul. It's a slight tweak, and that's what good managers do because this is crazy.
Do you not think that's on the players though? And the only reason I say that is because it's rinse and repeat every week with Manchester United. First half an hour, if games just lasted 30 minutes, Man United win the Premier League. Yeah. No question about it. So they get that first goal, they start really well, but then they give time and they give room for the opposition to grow. And then what happens is they get stretched and then they just get picked off. So I don't know what you think, Tim, but do you not think that there needs to be players in that team that just go, hold on, because I don't think the manager can do everything from the side. But you've got a Casemiro, you've got experienced players in that team that have got to say, listen, we've got to hold out here because we don't want to get caught. It's as though when they start to lose control, they want to gain it back even quicker and just go quick.
I do think, and I'll put a lot of responsibility on players. Yeah. But in this instance, if it's happening, rinse and repeat over and over again, then it's on the onus of the manager to say no. Because right now they accept, and here's what I wrote down in my notes. They just accept being praised for trying and running and for being exciting. Nobody wants that. They just want to win the football match. The supporters, the manager, want to win the football match. So these players are so conditioned to get praised for this wide open, chaotic style of football. It needs to be more contained. I think that's on the manager.
And one of the things that you look at as well, and Tim, obviously you will have had it at Manchester United, will have had it at Everton as well. There are very few leaders around now. So the importance of the manager is huge. There's no question about it. But as a player, you have to know when the tide is starting to turn. I didn't play in a team of this quality. But even in the teams that I played in, you had experienced players that could go, listen, I know you want to overlap. Listen, I know you want to go on a run, but these next 5 or 10 minutes, let's just see this out and then we can grow again. And I just go back, there are experienced players in that team that should be able to control the game better because they're scoring plenty of goals. They've only Manchester City that have scored more than them. But they just, for a neutral, amazing to watch Manchester United week in, week out, because you know you're going to get goals.
Well, that's what Joe said. He said, for us as neutrals, this was just a thriller. I mean, 8 goals apiece. They were, to your point, keep scoring goals, but they're so vulnerable in defence, and that's what has to change if they want to scoop for 3 points more regularly, particularly at home, like tonight was at Old Trafford.
Hi there. Ruben, I just wonder how you unpack what we've just seen here at Old Trafford tonight.
I think it was a fun game for everyone at home. I think we started really well. We did a very good first half. The result should be completely different. And then, again, I think 6 minutes of the second half, similar to Nottingham. We lost the concentration. And they scored 2 goals. But we managed to get back to the game. We scored 2 goals again. And then we have to finish the game. Just a throw-in. In our possession, we need to close to think about not to go again, but to take calm and to close the game. But in the end, it was a fun game.
Did you think when you went 4-3 up, that was it? Because I saw you celebrate wildly as well, as much as the players.
Yes, because I saw the effort of the players, I saw the effort of the fans, and in the end of the game, when you make 4-3, I have the feeling that we will continue to push to score another one. So we tried, but in the end it was a draw.
But the substitutions that you made as well, and you kept the formation fluid, but we did see that back four that so many people have spoken about. What do you take out of this tonight to go forward?
The same, a lot of good things, but a lot of things to work. We are not winning games sometimes in the details. It's not about because it's a back four, back three, back five. It's the details that we need to work, understand of the momentums of the game. And you need to be more clinical because again today against a very good team we create so many chances to win the game, and you should have won the 3 points.
And also when you talk about the 3 points, we spoke in the build-up to this game last Friday, about whether the glass is half full or half empty, and the fact that you've dropped 7 points now in the last 3 at home, I'm guessing that's the one that annoys you the most.
Yeah, of course. When you win away, you should win at home. But we need to focus on the performance today was different from the last 2 at home. So that is also a point that we take pay attention, and it's completely different. The result is the same. Is a 1 point. Is frustrating, but the performance is different.
And how do you go about now finding a solution as well? Because obviously you're going to lose 2 more players to AFCON tonight after this game, and you're without 3 centre backs as well. It's sort of problematic for you, isn't it?
But that is the fun part of being a manager. You will try to find the solutions with the players that we have. So after last season, I think we are ready to cope with whatever they present in front of us. So let's move on. And we already knew we had some injuries. All the teams in England had injuries. We will try to find a way to score goals in a different way.
Ruben, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, welcome to the Gary Neville podcast. There's only one place to begin, Gary. The game we've just seen between Manchester United and Bournemouth. Match of the season so far?
Yeah, it was a stunning watch, more for a neutral maybe. But even for me, I was really critical after the Everton and West Ham games because of just the nature of the performance. I thought it was really bland. The Everton one where obviously kept 3 at the back and against 1 and they were down to 10 men and there's no urgency. There's not a throwing a kitchen sink at it. Same against West Ham, letting large parts of the game drift. Complete and utter opposite tonight. I can live with that all day long in terms of a performance and a standard because they played really intent, played the ball forward, always played at full pace. We'll come on to the mistakes shortly, but I just think the way in which also when United went 3-2 down and Ruben Amorim then went to 4-4-2 and did the right thing. Forget the system, he did the right thing. He got the right players on the pitch and they looked a massive threat. But credit to Bournemouth. They were, in the first half, I thought they were really... I think they were overrun by United. I thought they were going to be out of the game. I thought that it would be probably 2 or 3-0. But if you don't kill teams off, United, I think you said, had more shots in the first half than any other team this season recorded in the Premier League, which demonstrated their dominance. But still, Bournemouth had 1 or 2 good moments and get the goal and still are in it at half-time. And Jamie Carragher's words just coming out before the second half that Ruben Amorim will be thinking, we should be further ahead in this game. True. The second half was absolute mayhem. Absolute mayhem. But just generally in terms of sort of what would be, and the fans feel the same thing. There were big boos after the West Ham and the Everton game. There weren't the big boos here after this game tonight. There was disappointment. But there were a lot of fans we just seen stayed in the stadium to clap the team because they can live with that. If you're a kid coming to United, my kids have come tonight. My 2 girls have come tonight and they'll be thrilled walking back across that forecourt. They won't be happy that United haven't won, but they'll have seen a great game of football, and that's what you come to Old Trafford for. You come for entertainment. Of course, come to see your team win. And I get it, you've got to go and win games, you've got to win trophies, you've got to win titles, and we can turn into sort of what would be the fact that this is not good enough in respect of what's happened. But I think getting the entertainment bit right, the performance bit right, the style right, is absolutely critical at this football club. And I enjoyed what I've seen tonight from those red shirts. Defensively, I think it's to be expected when you think that, Martinez came on, but, De Ligt, Maguire, Martinez not playing, and you've got obviously a couple of young defenders. It doesn't look like a defence that's going to keep clean sheets and that's going to keep teams out. It just doesn't look like that. So you're thinking before the game already, you've probably got to score. I said at half-time, I think just after half-time, you probably have to score 4 to win this game, and 4 wasn't enough. It needed to be 5 because both teams looked really vulnerable at the back, and it was probably expected from United, and obviously Bournemouth have been going through a tough patch, but I enjoyed the game so much. I can live watching those types of matches all the time. I can't stand 0-0s. They happen sometimes, and they're a struggle, and you respect defensive sort of solidity, but it can't have bland letting games drift where teams are passing it along the back. that was a proper game of football, and I enjoyed it.
I mean, there were all sorts of goals tonight. If there was one you could pick out from all of them, is that possible? One you liked in particular? Had the Fernandes free kick, of course.
The Fernandes free kick was sensational.
But this is the thing, when you have a game with so many goals in it like this, it almost, the fact something doesn't jump out at you is what makes it so great.
Probably the Fernandes free kick is the goal of the night, but yeah, I just thought the Tavernier run for the goal where he then eventually scored from the free kick was fantastic as well. And Bournemouth looked a real threat. If you look at that front four for Bournemouth before the game and you saw the United backline, you probably thought they have been struggling. Evan Nielsen, Semenyo, Jimenez I thought was fantastic tonight in Cliver. They've got real talent, that four, and they've not been at it as much as you would think they should be. And Iriola had asked them before the game, I need my strikers to kick in. Well, that's the big benefit for Bournemouth out of tonight, because I actually thought before the game, if those four start to sort of play a little bit, United will be in a bit of trouble because they've got talent. And they did. They scored 4 goals. And deservedly scored 4 goals. They came back, but they were encouraged. They were encouraged by the fact they got to half-time and they were still only within 1.
18 shots on target, the most in a Premier League game this season, 8 goals. In stark contrast to the game you were at yesterday, the North East derby, but one team won that game and got the victory in the end, Sunderland, in what will be remembered for them in the match in which Nick Voldemade scored the winner.
Look, it wasn't a great game in respect of quality. It was a Newcastle team that were well below their best, and I'll come on to a little bit of detail in a minute on them. Sunderland, again, I didn't think were fantastic, but I thought that their 2 centre-halves, Alderete, Ballard, I thought the 2 central midfield pairs, Xhaka and Siddiqui, I thought those 4, and actually Brobby up front as well, I thought the spine of the team for Sunderland were really good. And the spine of Sunderland's team were better, in my opinion, than the spine of the Newcastle team. I think in terms of the game, it was always going to be about a moment and something like that happening. Obviously, Voldemade, you don't want that to happen to anybody in a game like that. I had a really bad experience once at Main Road in the last ever derby there with Sean Goulter, where I dilly-dallied on the touchline, and ultimately he'll live with me forever, and he'll have one of those sort of feelings as well. But I just thought, to me, the way in which Newcastle approached the game, it was, I say negative. It was a tactic that I think, if it goes wrong when you're a big club and you're a Champions League team, it really looks bad. Particularly when you're playing a lesser team, as in lesser quality, lesser sort of experience in the Premier League. So for me, I think that Newcastle playing that 5 across midfield, and it was a 5 like that were really deep. And I wanted to see Gordon and Elanga be a little bit more in front, and the 3 a little bit more like that when they were defending, so that they had a little bit more spring to be able to jump and counter-attack from. But they weren't. They were the classic 4 at the back deep. They were the classic 5, which meant that their wide players, Elanga and Gordon, were pinned back. And Voldemade then becomes the isolated centre-forward, who, to be fair, I don't think he's the type of centre-forward that can play up front on his own unless he's got people around him and near him. So I thought it was quite a flawed situation from the first 5 minutes. And I said it in commentary to Elanga and to Gordon: get 5 yards further up the pitch, tuck in a little bit, not half cheating, but you on that half and half roll, which means that you're nearer to Voldemade if you win it back, that you can get there, but also if it goes over your head, you can get back towards your full back to double up. And I just thought they were far too negative in their positions, the 2 wide players for Newcastle. I also thought the 2 wide players for Newcastle were really poor in their performance, the levels that they're at. Gordon's a very good player, Langa's a very good player. I thought both of them were well below the standard. They were far better when Murphy and Barnes came on after the goal went in. So yeah, there was underperformance from Newcastle, mentality from Newcastle, and then the final bit for Newcastle was that Sunderland, I just felt, were a bit more determined and a bit more competitive, and Newcastle fans won't like that, because you imagine in that derby to be able to come off that pitch and say they wanted it just that little bit more than you. They did. They absolutely did. They just had that little bit more bite, that bit more competitiveness, that bit more of that. And sometimes it's that wins you a football match, that little edge. You can put your finger on it. Obviously, it's a Voldemade header that ultimately is unfortunate with. But just sometimes when you just not got that little bit of aggression, they weren't authoritative on the ball. They were a bit sort of, if you like, lacking in mentality in their positions and how deep they were. And then you've got to then swing the game back the other way from a position whereby it's 1-0 down. And Newcastle did play, I thought, a bit more progressively, and they were a bit better, I thought, when after Sunderland scored. And Guimaraes has got a bit of the Bruno Fernandes about him, hasn't he? He's almost the kid in the playground that takes the goal kicks, the throw-ins, the free kicks, the penalty kicks. He's everywhere, and he looks like he's trying to do everything. It adds a bit of impetus, but not a lot was happening around it. So, yeah, it was a difficult day for Newcastle. But for Sunderland, I said from the very first game of the season, I think when you come up from the Championship, look, they've spent £160 million, so we need to mention that is a hell of an investment. So there should be some return. But players who I think can compete, players who are physical, players who can run from box to box. I didn't think their wide players played particularly well yesterday. I didn't think Traore or Talbi were great, or Lafay. I didn't think they were fantastic, but I did think their spine of their team were really strong and determined. And I think if you've got a good spine in the Premier League, ultimately then you can carry the rest of the team. So Sunderland deserved to win. It was an incredible atmosphere. Before the game was sensational. Obviously, when the goal went in was sensational. At the end of the game was absolutely fantastic. And at the end, I was stuck in the car park for 40 minutes after, which is a usual thing, obviously, away at away grounds, and they close the roads to let the fans go. But the Sunderland fans, when I left 40 minutes after the game, I could still hear them chanting and singing in the thousands. So what a great day and great night for them. It's the first night they've had like that for many years. A great record in this game recently as well. And it was great to be at my first Weir Tyne derby. Weir Tyne derby. Don't get it wrong, Gary. I got it wrong once yesterday, and that was nearly a fatal mistake.
Yeah, just check who's at home. Final word on the title race, obviously not for this season, but over the course of this weekend, Arsenal a little tetchy, Manchester City, are they on one of those runs? And can we discount Aston Villa, of course?
And what a run Aston Villa have been on, but going to Arsenal and City, the two teams that look like they've got the chance to win it, or they have got the chance to win it. I wouldn't be, they shouldn't be panicking Arsenal's camp. I think that they've come through a challenging set of fixtures, a little bit scrappy, very scrappy against Wolves on Saturday evening. I didn't think that was a game of glory for them, but they've got to get the balance right between thinking the victory is the most important, we got over the line, but giving yourself a little bit of a slap round the face and say, look, we can't have too many of those types of performances, or else we'll end up with a bloody nose. So I think it's that little bit of a wake-up moment. You're coming into a period where there's lots of points to play for. City have got Haaland, they do have Pep, and they have a few more players who've got real quality and experience of being round the block. So they're probably smelling a little bit of blood and thinking, we're on your shoulder, we're coming. And we're going to be there in March, and we're going to be there in April, and can you handle this? But if you're going to win your first Premier League title, it's not going to be handed to you on a plate. This has to be Arsenal's year. I'm absolutely convinced of that. There's nothing that's going to let them off the hook. They've got an incredible squad. They've got stability. I think they're a better team than Manchester City, and they proved that in the first few months of the season. But City are dangerous. They're dangerous because they've got that manager who is a prolific winner. They've got a striker who is absolutely world class. He's the player in the league that is absolutely standout. A dream. What a player. So they've got really dangerous sort of what would be characteristics and sort of talent and potential to go and cause upset. But I still think it's Arsenal's. And this moment was probably going to come if Arsenal are sat there now asking themselves the question, did you think it was going to be a bed of roses? Did you think it was going to be plain sailing? Did you think that we were just going to sail home to shore and that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola weren't going to have a little bit of a punch at us? No, the reality is you're going to have that. And in a season of a Premier League, it's a marathon. So that's that moment. It'll happen maybe a bit more over the next few weeks. They might even lose the lead at one point and they might have to then go back. But Arsenal have got to get themselves mentally right for the next 4 or 5 months. It's such a huge moment for the club, and I still think they'll do it, but they've got to make sure that they step up.
And as you say, still a long way to go. Gary, thanks very much.
Thanks, Seb. Thank you.
Leandro Trossard proved to be the perfect antidote to Arsenal's attacking frustrations, following Mikel Arteta's candid remarks about Victor Gyökeres. Gyökeres may have struggled to truly impress since his summer arrival at Arsenal, but over the weekend, there was finally a glimpse of what he is capable of. More importantly, Trossard showed exactly why he could be the key to unlocking the Swedish striker's full potential during Arsenal's hard-fought 2-1 victory over Wolves. at the Emirates Stadium. The 31-year-old winger injected fresh energy into Mikel Arteta's side on Saturday night and helped breathe new life into the Gunners' attack. Shortly after replacing Gabriel Martinelli in the second half, Arsenal found the breakthrough. While Trossard did not directly contribute to either the opening goal or the dramatic stoppage time winner, his influence on the game was undeniable. Trossard took control of proceedings, dictating the tempo and pulling the strings down the left flank. Time and again, he dismantled Wolves' compact defensive setup, releasing Miles Lewis-Skelly into space, picking out Declan Rice on the edge of the box, and crucially, feeding Gyökeres with intelligent, well-timed passes. Operating as a creative hub, the Belgian showcased his playmaking qualities, delivering sharp, purposeful distribution. His introduction completely shifted the momentum of the match, and for the first time in weeks, Arsenal's $64 million striker briefly looked like a genuine threat. Before Trossard's arrival, Gyökeres endured a frustrating and ineffective outing in attack. In fact, the Belgian was the only player to carve out a clear-cut opportunity for the 27-year-old forward, slipping a simple yet incisive ball in behind the Wolves' backline. Gyökeres controlled the pass, beat his defender, and aimed for the far post. Wolves goalkeeper Sam Johnstone was beaten, but the Swedish striker saw his effort agonizingly drift just wide. If Arteta truly wants to get the best out of Gyökeres, then granting Trossard a more prominent role in the starting 11th could be the solution. Speaking to TNT Sports after the win, the Arsenal manager openly addressed the challenges facing his marquee signing. "It's a collaboration between the two," Arteta explained. "He was in some really good positions, but the ball didn't arrive quickly enough, accurately enough, or with the precision a number 9 needs to score." But his commitment and intention were there, and we have to keep pushing. Arteta was equally vocal in defending Gyökeres prior to the match, urging patience with the striker's adaptation to English football. "There was huge expectation because we were signing a proven goal scorer, probably with the best statistics in Europe," Arteta said. "But he's coming into a different league, the most demanding league in the world. What happens if he doesn't score in 5 or 6 games? That was the only question I asked him. How are you going to react if you don't score in 5 or 6 matches? Can you handle that? And what about the next 100 games? That's what people need to see. The sample size is still very small, so leave him alone. Let him do what he does best. Support him, and I'm convinced things will come good." That message from Arteta resonated beyond the Emirates. In the days following the Wolves' victory, the debate around Gyökeres intensified among pundits, supporters, and former players. While some questioned whether Arsenal's record signing is truly suited to the Premier League's pace and physicality, others pointed to the structural issues around him rather than the striker himself. Much of the post-match analysis focused on Arsenal's chance creation and balance in the final third. The Wolves game highlighted a recurring theme this season. Gyökeres often makes the right movements, but the service into dangerous areas has been inconsistent. When Trossard entered the match, that problem briefly disappeared. Arsenal suddenly looked more fluid, more unpredictable, and far better equipped to supply a traditional number 9. Former players speaking on television and radio were quick to note the contrast. With Trossard drifting inside and linking play, Arsenal's attacking shape became more compact, allowing Gyökeres to stay higher up the pitch and occupy central defenders. That, in turn, created space for midfield runners like Rice and Ødegaard to arrive late in the box. It was a glimpse of an attacking formula that Arsenal have rarely sustained this season. The reaction from supporters has been equally divided. While frustration with Gyökeres' goal return remains, there is growing appreciation for his work rate, physical presence, and willingness to press from the front. Many fans now see Trossard as the missing connector, the player who can translate Gyökeres' movement into genuine scoring opportunities. Internally, Arteta faces an important decision. Persisting with a front line that isolates Gyökeres risks damaging the striker's confidence, especially with tougher fixtures on the horizon. At the same time, promoting Trossard to a regular starting role could mean reshuffling wide positions and reducing Martinelli's minutes, a bold call that would not come without consequences. Yet football at the highest level often comes down to chemistry rather than reputation. The Wolves match suggested that Arsenal's most expensive signing may not need drastic changes to his own game, but rather the right supporting cast around him. If Arteta embraces that idea, Gyökeres's slow start could soon be remembered as nothing more than a difficult adjustment period. For now, the pressure remains. Goals will ultimately define Gyökeres's Arsenal career, and patience in North London is never unlimited. But with Trossard offering clarity, creativity, and calm in possession, Arsenal may finally have found the key to unlocking their striker and turning promise into consistent production.